this morning, and it was a hurricane outside. So it would be wrong of me if I did not share with you some things about the Holy Fathers, Mayon Pateron, whose celebration is today. So as I said in the Pentecostarion, the book of the Pentecostarion, it ends on Pentecost next week. So for 50 days we've been using a special book, the Psalterion, and the feast day, the feast days for Sundays are mapped out, and there's a reason, a rhyme and a reason to it. And the focus is on the catechumeni, the catechumens, who were baptized on Pascha. So for 50 days, those individuals who were baptized in the church would come to church, and the priest, the deacons, would teach them for 50 days the basic things of the church. So instead of being catechumeni or receiving a catechism, which is listening, they received mystagogia, mystagomen in the mysteries. They are introduced into the mysteries of the church because now they can receive Holy Communion. They are baptized now. So before, they were only catechumens. They could only hear. So if you remember in the liturgy, when the priest comes out and says, "Tastiras, tastiras," the doors, the catechumeni, those who were not baptized, left the church. They were told, "Go out, close the doors." So they would stand in the narthex, the catechumeni. They could see, they could hear. It wasn't blocked. They were just little doors like this, like we have in the altar, small doors. They would close the doors. And those who could not receive communion would stand out there. That's why if you go to early churches in Europe, in France, Australia, the old churches there, you see that the narthex is oftentimes larger than the main church. And people say, well, why is that? And because back then, more people were catechumeni than baptized Christians. So when the priest said, "Tastiras, tastiras," a lot of people were ushered out. And they stood until the end in the back. And at the end, after it was time for the antidoron, the doors would open, and they would come back in, and instead of receiving the doron, the Holy Communion, they received antidoron. Instead of the gift, they received the antidoron. As time went on, things changed, and both the faithful, those who were baptized, as well as the catechumeni, received the antidoron. But usually, in the early church, I'm saying, the antidoron was only for the catechumeni, and those who were baptized, they all received communion, and they received the antidoron as they went out, together with the doron, the Holy Communion. So there are many things that are going on in the church, and we owe the Holy Fathers honor because they were the ones that decided with the Holy Spirit what is correct and what is not correct. So the Doxastikon, for those of you who are here to hear Panayoti chanted beautifully in Greek, it's one of my favorite Doxastika of the Orthodox. Allow me to read a couple of words. So they are called Theogori Oplite. Theogori Oplite. They are called Asteres Polyphoti. Asteres Polyphoti, stars with great illumination. Tu noitus stereomatos, tis mystikis Sion. Pyrgi, άνθη του παραδείσου, τα πάνχρησμα στόματα του λόγου, that's it. The descriptions, listen to it in the English now. They are called the inspired soldiers of the Lord, bright stars of the firmament, impregnable towers of the mystical Zion. This is my favorite. Fragrant flowers of paradise, golden mouths of the Logos, pride of Nicaea, because that's the city where they wrote the Nicene Creed. So they are the pride of Nicaea. And the last word is the adornment of the world. So these are the adjectives that describe the Holy Fathers that we celebrate today. And we see many of them around the church. We see them in the back of the altar, wearing the vestments of if they were patriarchs or archbishops or bishops or priests. So as we offer the Divine Liturgy, we should think about them and realize that's the inheritance that we as Greek Orthodox have received. So in the Creed, there's so much here, but just one thing more, then we will return to the liturgy. And that is, they fought, not physically, but they fought with their minds and with the inspiration of the Holy Spirit about who is Jesus Christ. And they were trying to come up with a word that would describe that he was the same as God the Father. So the word that they created is homoousion. So in the Creed, it says that. Ubi thenda homoousion to patri, homoousion to patri, viu tapanda egeneto. So this word homoousion was one of the biggest debates for many, many, many years, whether or not it was right to say that Jesus is homoousion to the Father. And there were some who said, no, he is not homoousion. Homoousion means the same essence, the same substance. So there is no difference between Jesus and God the Father. Homoousion. Some said, no, he's similar in essence, not the same. So they use the word homoousion, with a iota. So if you take homoousion, the word homoousion, and you add a iota in there, just one letter, it changes the whole thing. Homoousion is that Jesus is not exactly like God the Father, he is like him. He is of similar essence. And finally, after much time and much prayer, the church said, no, homoousion is incorrect. He is of the same essence, ine homoousion. And that's called, if you Google it, you want to learn more, called the iota controversy. The iota controversy. And in many Coptic churches, not all Coptic churches, but in some Coptic churches, they recite the Creed, and the Creed says homoousion, not homoousion. And there are theories as to what happened in the early church, and the first break in the church was not with the Catholics in 1054. It happened in the 1st and 2nd centuries over this word, homoousios and homoousion. So that's the reason why I try to not force you, but encourage you to open your pamphlet during the liturgy and read it so you can focus on what you are reading, and you're not just saying it like a parrot, but you're reading it and focusing on the words, because the church fathers fought strongly for these things. Please rise.